Friends, in this video, we'll discuss Robert Frost and his famous poem, A Roadside Stand. Robert Frost was a very famous American poet. Perhaps he was the most famous poet of the 20th century. Well, his personal life was not very happy. It was plagued by grief, loss, one after another. His father died when Robert Frost was very young. His mother died of cancer when Frost was 25. Well, he had 7 children altogether, but only 2 of them survived. So it was a very unhappy life. Now, as far as his profession is concerned, his first love was farming. Well, he started farming, and after some time, he realized that he was going to be a failure. So he quit it, and he turned to teaching and writing poetry. Well, in poetry, he was, highly successful. Well, during his own lifetime, he was honored very frequently. Then he was the only poet who won 4 Pulitzer Prizes, one after another. Pulitzer Prizes for poetry in 1924, 1931, 1937, and 1943. There is no other poet who has won 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. And he became one of America's rare public literary figures. And in 1961, he became the poet laureate of the United States of America. At the age of 86, he recited a famous poem, The Gift Outright, at the inauguration of John F. Kennedy, the President of America. That was on the 20th of January 1961. Now, coming to his poems, Robert Frost's poems, they are very simple. Very simple, at the same time very delightful. He writes very well about the actions of ordinary men. He has presented a wide range of human experience in his poems. Remember, Robert Frost's poems begin in delight and end in wisdom. So at the end of the poem, you will have something to learn from his poem. Now, as far as the Indians are concerned, Robert Frost, is a very dear poet because of Jawaharlal Nehru. Nehru was an admirer of Robert Frost, and he kept a copy of Robert Frost's poems at his bedside, even when he lay dying. Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister of India. He was very particular about one thing, that he kept 4 lines of one of his very famous poems, that is, stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. The last lines, the last stanza of the poem, he kept those 4 lines under the glass on the top of the Prime Minister's table. These are the lines. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. One of the, most famous poems written by Robert Frost. And that is how these 4 lines are very dear to Indians. Now, coming to our poem, A Roadside Stand, I can see 3 characters in this poem. The first character is the countryman who has his small house at the side of the highway, and he had made a little bit of extension and erected a roadside stand. For what? To sell the local fruits and vegetables. A roadside stand, that's the title of the poem, isn't it? So that's the first character. The second character is the city man traveling by a posh car along the national highway. Well, the villager, the first man, the countryman, expects these city people to buy some goodies, to to buy some of his fruits and vegetables so that he can survive. And the third character, the second and third are related. The third character is the modern day development, the development that every modern government is talking about. The city, money, wealth and affluence, national highways, high-speed trains, then multiplex cinema complexes, then government building, then malls, the city malls, the rich people, the film actors, the businessmen, and all those things. So that is the third character, all these things together. Development, government, money, roads and cars and all these things. So the three characters are, number one, the countryman, number two, the city man, and number three, all these talk about city development, progress and all those things. So these are the three characters. Now let's come to the poem. Now here's the poem. The little old house was out with a little new shed in front, at the edge of the road where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. It would not be fair to say, for a dole of bread, but some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering fate. The little old house, the shed, the little shed that is erected, attached to the farmer's, the villager's house at the edge of the road, at the edge of the highway. The little old house was out. It was extended with a little new shed. A small new shed is erected in front of the house. Where? At the edge of the road, at the edge of the national highway, where the traffic sped. The traffic, the vehicular traffic, the vehicles, Porsche cars, luxury cars, sped. They, sped. They travel at a very great speed. Where the traffic sped. A roadside stand that too pathetically pled. The roadside stand, the stand is here personified. That the roadside stand that too pathetically pled. It is pleading. The stand is pleading. Is it the stand that is pleading? No. It is the man who is standing there. The man who is standing at the shed, who is pleading. He is requesting. Requesting what? It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread. Is he asking for a loaf of bread? No. He is not asking for a loaf of bread. He is not begging. Is he begging? No, the farmer is not begging. He has put his, the farm produce, fruits and vegetables. The fruits and vegetables from his local farm. And he is trying to sell those things. He is not begging. He is not begging for a dole of bread. He is not begging for alms. He is not asking for charity. He is trying to live a decent life by selling things. He expects the city people to stop the car and buy his fruits and vegetables. In that way, he hopes that he can survive. He can lead a comfortable life. So, a roadside stand that too pathetically pleading. It would not be fair to say for a dole of bread, but for some of the money. Some of the money, the cash whose flow, the flow of the cash supports the flower of the cities from sinking and withering fate. It is the flow of cash that supports the flower of cities. Flower of cities. What do you mean by flower of cities? Does a city have a flower? No, you think of a plant and its flower is the crown of the plant. Now, if you consider city as a plant, what is its crown? What is the flower? The flower is the cash, money. So whose flow supports the flower of city? It's a beautiful metaphor, isn't it? The flower of cities. Whose flow supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering fate? No. The farmer is asking for a share of the money. It is not fair to say that the farmer is asking for a dole of bread. No, he is not begging. He is asking for some of the money, a share of the money, the cash. We know cities are synonyms of wealth. They are the synonyms of wealth. City means cash, wealth, affluence. What about the village? Village is exactly the opposite. Poverty, starvation, no money. So this farmer, by putting up the shed and by trying to sell the fruits and vegetables, he is asking for a share of the cash, a share of the cash of the city. And Robert Frost says, it is the flow of the cash that supports the flower of cities from sinking and withering fate. Now, cash is the synonym of city, and this poor farmer, he expects a small share of the huge wealth of the city so that he can survive, he can eat some food, he can support his family. This is why the man, the villager, the countryman has erected a little shed. So that's the first part. Now, the polished traffic. The polished traffic passed with a mind ahead, or if ever aside a moment, then out of sorts, at having the landscape marked with the atlas of signs that with the N turned wrong and the S turned wrong, offered for sale wild berries in wooden courts, or crook-necked golden squash with the silver warts, or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain sea. The polished traffic. Is it the traffic that is polished? It is the man inside the car that is polished. Polished means, he looks like a very highly civilized man, a cultured man, a very decent man, outwardly. But inside, is he civilized? Is he compassionate? Is he loving? You can't say. Well, the polished traffic passed. The so-called civilized man, the city man, the city people, they passed with a mind ahead, with a pre-planned destination in his mind, because he wants to go somewhere. He has his destination in his mind. So the polished traffic passed with a mind ahead. If ever aside a moment, so they never stopped. If at all they stopped. If a car or two stopped there, then out of sorts, getting very angry. Yeah, he doesn't like to stop, he doesn't want to stop. Now, if he stops the car there, well, he gets impatient, he gets very angry. For what? At having the landscape marred. The landscape, the beauty of the landscape is marred. It is spoiled. How? With the artless signs, with the dirty signs, the signboards, the billboards. The billboards spoil the beauty of the landscape. At having the landscape marred with the artless of signs, that with the N turned wrong and the S turned wrong. The traffic signboards, north, south, look at the way N is written. Oh, it's a very, very, dirty way of writing. That N, it looks dirty. That S of the south, that also looks very dirty. It spoils these billboards, these signboards, these traffic signboards. They spoil the beauty of the landscape. So just to abuse him, to abuse the villager. Hey, what is this? Look at these signboards. It spoils the beauty of the landscape. Now it is for this that he stops the car. Number one. Or for what? Of signs that with the N turned wrong and the S turned wrong, offered for sale. Now this poor man, this villager, the countryman, he offered for sale. He has put up for sale what? Wild berries. Wild berries, fruits from the local farms. Wild berries in wooden cots. You know, a cot is a wooden basket. A wooden basket, you know, for storing, for selling berries. In wooden cots. Or crook-necked golden squash. Either to sell berries or to sell golden crook-necked golden squash. Squash is a yellow vegetable with a curved neck. You can see it here. A crooked-necked golden squash with the silver warts, with, you know, white bubbles, bubble-like, you know, growth on the body of the fruit, that yellow fruit. Or what? Or beauty rest, or sell, you know, a painting. So the countryman, the villager sells berries, squash, or painting. The beauty rests in a beautiful mountain scene, a beautiful landscape, a painting of a beautiful landscape. You know, the beauty rests in a beautiful mountain scene. It is metaphorically said, a beautiful painting. So he sells vegetables, fruits, for example, berries, squash, or painting of landscape, and, you know, such things. Now, you have the money. The city man has the money. You have the money. But if you want to be me, why keep your money this costly and go alone? The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to fill the hand, to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the lift of the moving picture's promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. Now, you have the money. The city man has the money. And if you want to be mean, if you are not ready to share the money with others, if you are not ready to share the money with poor people, then keep your money. Keep your money with yourself and go alone. Now, why should you stop your car and get angry with me? You can keep your money with you, and you can go along. You can proceed. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint. I am not bothered. I am not worried. I am not bothered about the hurt to the scenery. If, for example, the billboards spoil the beauty of the landscape, now, why should I bother? It is none of my business. I don't bother about it. I have other things to care about. I am not bothered whether the signboard spoils the beauty of the landscape or not. It is none of my business. The hurt to the scenery wouldn't be my complaint, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. I have other concerns. The trusting sorrow. Because look at the expression, the trusting sorrow. Why trusting? Because he trusts. The farmer trusts, the villager, the countryman trusts, he hopes that some car would stop here and buy his goodies, buy his fruits, buy his vegetables, and and support him. He hopes, he trusts. But what happens? His hope is in vain. His hope is useless. What is the result? Frustration, disappointment. That is the result. So sorrow, sadness. He trusts, he hopes that somebody would Somebody would stop the car and buy his things. But nobody stops, nobody buys anything. So he is frustrated, disappointed. So trusting sorrow. So much as the trusting sorrow of what isn't. Nobody speaks about my sorrow. Now here, far from the city, we are away from the city. Far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand. We have put up the shed here and we are trying to sell our, fruits and vegetables that are grown in our, agricultural land. We are trying to get some money, to feel of the money, to feel of the city money in our hand. To try what? To try if it will not make your being expand. To try and see whether this money, this little share of money that we might get from the city people, whether it will make our life a little more comfortable. To make our being expand, our life expand, to make it a little more comfortable. And give us what? The lift of the moving pictures promise, or the life that we can see in Hollywood films, the life of the city people, the luxurious life, the comfortable life, the happiness, the cheerfulness that we see in the city people, in the life that is portrayed in Hollywood films. So we expect a small share of that city money to try if that money, if it will make our being expand, whether that money will make our life a little more comfortable and give us the lift of the moving pictures promise, whether we can also have the same life that we see in moving pictures in the Hollywood movies, the life of the city people that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. Oh, just before every election, the political parties, they give us promises, but these promises turn out to be false promises. Oh, you will have good houses. Everybody will have jobs. Oh, we are going to have a heavenly life, a heaven on earth. You will have this thing and that thing, development, shops, jobs, money, wealth, affluence, happiness, cheerfulness, everything. But these are only false promises that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. So the countryman, he's hoping for a small share of the country money from the people. But nobody stops. The trusting sorrow, the hope is in vain. Now, it is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theater and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. And by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night, the ancient way. Now, it is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages. Now they tell us that we are going to have a very comfortable life. We are going to have a very, safe and secure life. We are going to be given jobs. We are going to be given houses. They are going to support us. Oh, we are going to live near the theater and the store. They are going to buy our land, and our place is in for development. Theaters are coming up. Multiplex theater complexes are coming up. Malls are coming up. It is going to be a heaven. Our place is going to be converted into a heaven, they say. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be bought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theater and the store, where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. Well, this is the tragedy. You don't have to, the villagers don't have to think, because the thinking will be done by others. They will think for us. You don't think, you need to plan your future. You don't worry about, your own life. We will think for you. We will think, we will plan. You just, take this. You just take this allowance. We will give you everything. Don't bother about yourself. Your life is going to change. We will do the thinking. Don't worry. They say, this is what all the modern day governments tell us. They give us false promises. Don't worry. Don't worry about your life. Don't bother. We will do the thinking. So where they won't have to think for themselves anymore. While greedy good doers, good doer, a person who does good, to others, he can never be greedy. But here these people, these so-called good doers, they are very, very greedy. These business people, these billionaires, multi-billionaires, these businessmen, they give us false promises. They tell us, oh, this is going to, we are going to buy your land. We will buy your land. We will give you a good price. But they never give us a good price. We'll give you jobs. We are going to develop this place. We are going to set up, malls, businesses, industries. You will get a good house. You will get a good price for your land. You will get jobs. You will have a steady income. All these things they give us promises. But nothing turns out to be true. Nothing happens. They are cheating us. They are deceiving us. These promises are false promises. So greedy good doers and beneficent beasts of prey. Beneficent beasts of prey. A beast of prey. A beast of prey is an animal that kills and eats other animals. So a beast of prey, is a beast of prey beneficent? Is it merciful? Is it loving? Is it, affectionate? So greedy good doers. Look at the figure of speech. Greedy good doers. That is oxymoron. Two opposites. A good doer can never be greedy. A greedy man will never be a good doer. Oxymoron, the figure of speech. Beneficent beast of prey. An animal that kills and eats another animal, how can it be beneficent? Look at that figure of speech. They swarm over their lives enforcing benefits. They give us false promises. They tell us all the good things. Well, this is going to be good. This is going to be very, very, very beneficial. This is going to be profitable. So they set the traps. They set the traps for us to cheat us. Swarm over their lives enforcing benefits that are calculated to soothe them out of their wits. They are actually trying to fool us. By giving these false promises, these people, these greedy good doers, these beneficent beasts of prey, they are cheating us. They are fooling us out of our wits. And by teaching them how to sleep, the villagers have a traditional way of life. They work during day and sleep at night. They tell us, they teach us how to sleep. They tell us, sleep at day. Why should you sleep at night alone? You sleep at day. They are teaching us how to sleep. And they sleep all day. And what happens? Well, we have no work. We have been thrown out of our jobs. We have no work, no income. So it's very difficult, starvation, poverty, nothing to eat. We can't support ourselves. So there is no work during day. We have been thrown out of our lands. There is no house. We have become landless, houseless, jobless, nothing, poor people. And now these people are teaching us how to sleep at day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. So we used to work. We used to work during day and sleep at night. No, that is lost. The ancient way of life is lost. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. And one did stop, but only to plough up grass in using the yard to back and turn around. And another to ask the way to where it was bound. And another to ask they could sell it a gallon of gas. They couldn't. This costly. They had none. Didn't you see? Sometimes I feel myself, I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longings. Sometimes I feel that this childish longing for something, hoping for something, wishing for something in vain. Well, I hope that these people will buy my things, my fruits, my vegetable, so that I can support myself. But, it's in vain. It never happens. Nobody stops the car. Nobody buys anything. It's like a childish longing. A child wishes for something that he can't get. He just, goes on longing and longing and longing. But it never turns up. Is it like this? I expect these city people to stop the car and buy my things. It's like a childish longing. Sometimes I feel myself, I can hardly bear. Oh, I can't tolerate this thought, thinking, hoping, wishing like a child. It's very difficult for me to tolerate. The sadness that lurks near the open window, the window of the store, of the stand there, of the store there, it is open. Well, the sadness that lurks near the open window, it is not the sadness that lurks, it is the sad man. Just behind the open window there stands the man, the sad man. The sadness that lurks near the open window, the worries, the trouble, the sorrow, the sadness, because his hopes, his wishes are in vain. Nobody stops and buys his things. The sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day. The man waits all day long. For what? In almost open prayer. His mind is praying, hoping for something. Hoping for what? Waiting to hear the squeal of brakes, the sound of the brakes, the sound of the brakes of the car. If somebody stops there, if some car stops there to buy his things, the sound of a stopping car. Of all the thousand selfish cars, it is not the car that is selfish. It is the people inside the car who are selfish. So selfish cars, car is a noun and selfish is the adjective. So selfish is the man. So look at the figure of speech, the transferred epithet, the adjective. Selfish. It is not the car that is selfish. It is the man inside the car that is selfish. So the figure of speech is transferred epithet. Of all the thousands of cars pass by this road every day, not even a single car stops. Of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are. Out of 1,000 cars, one car did stop there. For what? Only to plow up he stopped the car because he came the wrong way. He reversed. He got into my yard, he reversed the car with great speed and he went away. He sped away and he spoilt my grass there. He spoiled the grass in my yard. To plow up grass in using yard, to back and turn around. When he reversed the car, he spoiled my grass. And another car. What for? To ask the way where it was bound. To ask about the direction. To see, to make sure that he was traveling in the proper direction. No. Is it the way to that place? To ask like this, he stopped. A third car stopped. To ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? Because the car had run out of petrol. He was short of petrol. Gas means petrol. In American English, gas is petrol. So he was running out of petrol. To ask if this shop sells petrol, gas. They couldn't. The poet says, they couldn't. How could these people sell gas, petrol? They couldn't. This Crossley, they had none. They had no petrol. This shop was not selling petrol. They couldn't sell petrol. And the man, of course, it happens sometimes. Sometimes when we go to far off places, when we run out of petrol, we would inquire, is it available? Is there a petrol station here? Do you sell petrol? You might sometimes ask. So he did like this. They couldn't. The poet says, this man, this farmer, he sells fruits and vegetables. And the car comes, stops there and asks if they couldn't sell petrol, he says. The poet says, they couldn't. This Crossley, they had none. They had no petrol there. Didn't it see? Didn't it see? Didn't it see? Can't they see that this man doesn't sell petrol? Now, in country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. Or so the voice of the country seems to complain. I can't help only the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. And then, next day, as I come back into the same, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. No, he says, no, the poet says, in country money, the country scale of gain. Well, on the countryside, in villages, the scales are different, standards are different. The country money is not like the city money. The country money, the money that one earns on the countryside, in villages, is just enough for the hand-to-mouth existence, a bare existence. You can't have luxuries. You can't have a lot of comfort. You can't have a lot of happiness. It is just enough, just sufficient to pull along, just for a hand-to-mouth existence. Whereas city, it's a place of palaces. It's a place of palaces on wheels. It's a place of business. It's a place of industry. It's a place of government. It's a place of luxury cars. It's a place of multiplex theater complexes. It's a place of malls, huge buildings, skyscrapers. So there, the city money, it is different. You can lead a luxurious life in cities. So country money is not like the city money. City money can afford luxury. Country money can never afford luxury, can never afford happiness. In country money, the country scale of gain, the scale of money, the scale of gain in countryside is different from the scale of gain in cities. The requisite lift of spirit has never been found. You can never find the lift of spirit, the happiness, the comfort, the luxury. You can never find on the countryside. Or so, The voice of the country seems to complain. The voice of the country. The voice of the people of the country, of the countryside. They complain. What? Oh, I can never afford this. I can never get happiness. I can never have a comfortable life. I can never get the life that we see in Hollywood movies. I can never get the life that is offered to us by the government, by the successive governments, by the rich people. The life that is offered to us by the rich people. So they complain. I can't help owning the great relief. Sometimes I feel that it would be a relief. What? It would be to put these people, these sad people, these miserable people, to put them, what? To put these people at one stroke out of pain. At one stroke. To kill all their suffering. To end all their miseries. To end all their sufferings at one stroke. I just wish if only somebody came and, ended, stopped all their pain at one stroke. Remember, Robert Frost had given this poem a subtitle, another title, Euthanasia. Euthanasia is mercy killing. So he had considered about that title, Euthanasia. So will it be a good title? Will euthanasia be a good title for this poem? You can think about it. So here the poet says, I wish somebody had come and stopped all the pain of all these people, the suffering of the misery, suffering of all these people at one stroke. Stop all their suffering at one stroke. At one stroke. I just wish. And then next day, as I come back into scene, so it was just a flash of thought in my mind. Then the next day, my mind becomes clear again. And then I think, what? I wonder, oh, the same thing had happened to me. I wish the same thing happened to me. I wonder how I should like you to come to me. How I should like you to come to me. Somebody comes to me and offer to put me. Because when I see the suffering of these people, I become very sad. When I see that, these country people, these villages, when they suffer, I feel very, very sad. So the next day, I would have the same feeling, the same desire, same wish again. What? Offer to put me. Somebody come and put me out of my pain. They stopped my pain as well. All my stuff. So it is with this wish in his mind that Robert Frost ends the poem. Now, when you look back at the poem, you can see that Robert Frost used a series of figures of speech, poetic devices, and it is these poetic devices that make it an excellent, a wonderful poem. Now look at the expression, didn't it see? Now that pronoun it is used to refer to the people. Didn't it see means didn't they see? So it is used instead of, that's a device in which he uses one pronoun to mean another pronoun to indicate the inhuman nature of the speaker. Didn't it see? Now, in expressions such as polished traffic and selfless cars, he uses the figure of speech known as transferred epithet. Epithet is an adjective. So a polished traffic, the adjective that is polished is used in front of traffic. It is not traffic that is polished. It is the people inside the car that are polished. They put on a polished garb. They look like, outwardly they look like as if they are polished, highly civilized, highly cultured, but they are uncultured and uncivilized. Polished traffic, selfish cars. It is not cars that are selfish, it's the people inside the car. So transferred epithet. Now look at the metaphor. Flower of cities, the flower of cities. That's a beautiful metaphor. The flower of cities. Flower is the crown of a plant. Similarly, cash, money, wealth, affluence is the flower of the city. So flower of cities, it enhances the beauty and effect of the poem. Now look at the expressions like, for example, the greedy good doers. Good doer, a person who does good, is never greedy. Or a greedy man can never be a good doer. And beneficent beasts of prey. A beast of prey is an animal that kills and eats another animal. Such an animal can never be beneficent. It can never be, loving or a kind, sympathetic, and affectionate. No, beneficent means a person who is helpful to others, helps others, beneficent. But a beast of prey is never beneficent. So this is oxymoron. At the same time, greedy good doers, greedy good, alliteration. Now also there is personification. He uses the figure of speech known as personification. Sadness that lurks near the open window. It is not sadness that lurks, that stands behind the window, that stands hidden, lurks behind the window, the open window. No, it is the sad man. So sadness is personified. The skillful use of these poetic devices, make this poem a very powerful, a strong critique of the cruel urbanization, the modernization, the globalization of the modern times. When you carefully look at this poem, on a closer analysis, you can see that it is a very strong, powerful critique of the modernization, the urbanization, and the globalization of the modern times. We can see that the miserable, the hard and miserable, sorrowful life of the poor rustics, the villagers, it is contrasted with the greed and the avarice and the affluence of the city folk in a modernized society. That image of the farmer, the poor villager, fruitlessly, in vain, trying to sell his berries at the roadside. It's an unforgettable image. And with the help of that image, Robert Frost draws a very, very vivid picture of the heartlessness, the cruelty of the man in a modernized society, especially the so-called business people, the rich people, the modern day governments, and all these things. That image of the farmer, the villager, the countryman, it is a symbol of the past, that is the past life, the past agricultural way of life that is disappearing gradually and slowly. It is disappearing. The roadside stand there, it's a very powerful symbol of the decline of the agricultural prosperity of the bygone era, of the olden times. Also, the roadside stand evokes the frustration, the disappointment of the country people in the age of modernization. You can see that there is in the modern philosophy of development, there is an uneven, a disproportionate distribution of development between village and town, because most of the development in the modern times is city-centered, urban-centered. The villages are just ignored. People, in villages, the poor become the poorer and the rich become the richer. This is what happens in the modern times, in the modern philosophy. The folks, the people from the villages, they are forced to take to begging because they have lost their land, they have lost their jobs, so they have been thrown out of their land, thrown out of their jobs. They have no income, no home, nothing. So this is what happens. Now, who is responsible for this miserable plight of the villagers? Of course, the party in power, the people in power, the ruling class. Just before the elections, they give all sorts of false promises. But when they are in power, they do nothing. Before the elections, they promise the poor people that the poor people can enjoy the life that is portrayed in films, in Hollywood movies. But such a life never comes. The city is a place of financial stability, whereas the countryside, it is solely dependent on what? The city folk, the city people for the survival. So the roadside stand, it becomes a powerful symbol of the end of the natural way of life of the past. So decorated with a large number of poetic devices. Robert Frost's poem, The Roadside Stand, it becomes a powerful critique of modernization, urbanization, and globalization. So that's it. That's the end of the poem. And now, see, I have some notes here. I have prepared some notes to help you in the examination. I have given the link of the PDF here in the description box. You can download the notes and you can read them and you can prepare for your examinations. So that's it. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. So best wishes. Thank you very much.